Hey everybody, it's Jamal with Up North Renovations. Welcome back to the channel. Right now we're in our Garner project in our almost completed kitchen. As you can see, we got countertops going in and finishing up our electrical and plumbing. But right now I want to take you over to our Broadway project where we're going to talk a little bit about drywall. Hey everybody, my name is Jamal Nora. I'm the owner of Up North Renovations, a construction company located here in Buffalo, New York. Today we're going to talk about drywall. What exactly? How to install drywall, the different types of drywall, the applications to put it on joint compound, and many other things. Today we're located at our Broadway project here in Buffalo, New York. It is in downtown Buffalo. As you can see, we've been doing plenty of drywall. We just actually got finished installing these floors throughout the third floor of this building. You may hear a couple of guys upstairs working on some flooring in the bathroom upstairs, but behind us we have plenty of things to show you, so let's get going. Alright, so first I'm going to show you a part of the property that's actually not fully renovated yet. As you can see, drywall's been hung and sanded in mostly every other area of this floor of this commercial unit, but in here in the bathroom we actually had a leak, so that's the reason why these studs are still exposed. There's watermarks and stuff because it was coming down from the fourth floor, passing the fourth floor into the third floor, and luckily it didn't reach into the second floor, but it did create some mold issues, so we had to take that drywall out. Luckily it didn't reach the studs, so we're able to keep the studs and not have to do all this rewiring and repiping of the supply lines to this vanity, which will go right here. Which you can see these stub outs. You got the drain pipe there, and then this toilet, which is temporary. We're not keeping that, but there's a couple different thicknesses of drywall. Drywall itself is just actually two pieces of paper. You can see paper on the front, paper on the back, and then gypsum, which is a natural substance that is mined throughout different places and is basically, for lack of a better word, laminated together to make a sheet. So the half-inch sheet is what you typically see in residential spaces, but then more commonly in commercial spaces, which we are in right now, you will see the 5-inch sheet. This is much heavier in a 4 by 8-inch length, which is the most common dimensions for drywall sheets. The reason that 5/8 is used in commercial spaces is because one, the sturdiness of it, and then two, a lot of times they'll have 2 layers of drywall against the stud. So imagine if this was a stud, you'd have this one sheet and then there would be another sheet, and that's to give it or bring it up to fire code. So along with the sturdiness and the fire retardant, it's just a lot more durable. So if you were to take a bat or any kind of blunt object and ding this, it's much less likely to dent or leave as big of a dent as opposed to the half-inch. And just to demonstrate, I'll break it right in front of you right now. So you see, very little effort to break that half-inch piece. So you see, you need a lot more force to puncture or damage the 5/8 sheet. So that's another reason why they use it in commercial spaces. I mean, there's no rule that says you can't use 5/8 in a residential space, but typically it's not needed unless it's a multi-unit where you have 3 stories, above one another. So as far as drywall being installed, as you can see, we got the studs open here, and the typical dimension for a sheet of drywall is going to be 4 feet wide by either 8 or 10, all the way up to 16 feet. You can find in some places for the length. These are about 9-foot ceilings, so we've been using 8 by 10 foot sheets. But I just wanted to show you real quickly, if you can imagine these two being 2 sheets, the way it would go is they would both split the seam. So when I say they're 16 inches apart, that means 16 inches on center. So that means from the middle of this beam to the middle of this beam is 16 inches, not the width between the edge of it. We want to split it on the middle of it. So 1 sheet, 2 sheet, when they come together, they'll split that right in the center, and then you can drive your screws. Typically it's supposed to be about 8 to 10 inches apart, and that will help or that will secure it to the actual stud. And then from that point you can go to your next step, which is taping, however many coats is required for whatever space you're in, and then going on to sand to finish it in order to prepare it to be painted. Once we have our sheets installed, the next step is to apply what you see here, this white stuff, which is joint compound. Typically you're doing anywhere between 2 to 3 coats of joint compound, depending on the level of finish that you're trying to achieve. One thing you can't underestimate is having level studs. However your framing is going to determine the level of finish for your drywall, because it's going to determine how level each sheet is able to be installed, and then will also determine the level of finish for paint, because you'll be able to notice those imperfections once the drywall is finished. So here we have a corner bead at the end, and as you can see, if you look in this bubble, get some of that paint off of there. The bubble is exactly in the middle, which lets us know that the stud is level and that our sheet is installed level. Another way to look at it, especially on your corners, if you take a look right here, our coat of compound, once it's finished, there's no gap in here, so it's completely flush with the rest of the drywall, and it lets us know that we have a smooth and even finish once it's all sanded. We're now on the top floor of this project. This is the 4th floor. So in this bathroom here, you can see we used this purple board. Sometimes it'll be green, but the significance of that is that this is moisture resistant. So typically you'll see them in bathrooms, sometimes in wet areas like around the countertop or sink area and kitchen, and that's just protect against moisture. If there was ever to be a leak or some type of humidity issue where moisture wouldn't be able to escape, mold wouldn't start growing on this drywall, thus stopping the owner or client from having to rip all this out and then replace all the drywall, which is not the case in the standard sheets of drywall that are just either like a light gray or a white. They are not moisture resistant, so if there's ever a leak, if you don't have to tear everything out, there's potential for mold to grow on those sheets. Just going back to our compound, so what bonds the sheets together and blends them together so that once the paint is put on the walls is joint compound. Typically you'll see them in buckets like this. They also come in bags that you can mix yourself, but there's all different types of compound, which we won't get into today, but there's differences in thickness, the time you have to work with them, so either 15, 20, 45, 90-minute compound, joint compounds. For this, we just mostly use this USG all-purpose and the lightweight joint compound. We use a little bit of the 45 as well when we were kind of pressed for time, working towards the next draw. But basically, the finished product comes out looking like this. This is with 3 coats of compound, and you can see that we got that exactly straight from corner bead to corner bead. These are metal paper corner beads that are in here, and it is completely flush from the top to the bottom after we applied all 3 coats and then sanded it down. So if you follow me down the hallway, you can see there's a lot of compound on here. This is typically not how much is used on the walls, but like I said, we are coming behind another contractor, so we had to apply so much in order to get the level of finish that we desired. But typically you would only see compound on the seams and then on the edges of the corner beads, so it would be a lot less material used. So always keep in mind, the more compound you use, the more sanding you have to do. So if we take a look over here, past all our flooring, which we just got done installing about an hour ago, and which is what they're completing upstairs. You'll see at the base here, typically there will be something to hide the unfinished gap between the drywall and the flooring. And you see we gotta chisel away some of that debris that got caught in the paint. But what sits on top of this is the actual baseboard. So we're using a 3 1/4 inch baseboard, which will sit about yay high, and that will finish the space and hide all these unfinished cuts that we made as we were cutting our vinyl sheets or our vinyl planks for our snap and lock flooring. And then once that's done, we will be painting in place, so they'll be painted and caulked right in place. All right, so that's it for today. Make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure to tune in to Up North Renovations on YouTube, because we'll start releasing weekly videos. Until then, see you next week.